or somebody hires a plane to write it in the sky. I don't understand why isn't the current law enough to cover what you're trying to get at here? Was it not written to include, doesn't it just say bullying by any form or threats by any form?
I think that it did not address, I don't know that it said threats in any form. Bill, I'd have to go back and look at that. I do know that Senator Fetter did research it, did come to the conclusion that it did not reach far enough into cyberbullying, that this is a new technique, a new way to bully, that this doesn't just happen on the school grounds, it's more likely to happen off the school grounds, and that we just needed to address and make sure that this was part of the bullying process. I would agree with you that it is bullying in the broadest sense, but why not just make sure that it's in writing that cyberbullying is part of that policy.
Can you talk a little bit off the school grounds? Why is anything that happens at 8 o'clock at night off the school grounds, why is that any business of school administrators? Why isn't that, if there is a crime, for instance, why isn't that police or juvenile authority? Why is that a school?
Well, it affects the child. It affects how the child functions in school. It affects, as Representative Garland pointed out, a child committing suicide. I think the school has a responsibility to make sure that they have an environment where a child can learn, can feel comfortable, can feel safe, and not feel that they have to, just lurk in a corner and not take extracurricular activities and not go out for sports or clubs or things. So I think that it is very much a part of what happens in the school day.
Are there mirroring pieces of legislation that hold parents responsible? Since things are happening off school grounds, a parent would be held responsible, as Bill says, for a crime committed off school, away from school grounds. What about cyberbullying or any other kind of bullying, since it's happening probably in the home?
Well, to kind of respond to both your question and Bill's question, in talking to the teachers and administrators in my district, they have said that they're not supposed to be using their cell phones in the schools and everything. So this is happening outside of school time. But it's basically, issues related to school. These kids know each other because of school and everything. And the schools really have said it's very hard for us because we don't have, any way to kind of deal with outside the school, even though it's really affecting the child in the school. And as Marian had indicated, lots of times they don't even come to school because of the fact, and then you've got truancy issues and those kind of things. So again, it's to add another tool to the toolbox. And the other thing I would kind of equate, I have a bill that bans texting while driving, and people say, but we already have laws on the book, if you're driving as a distracted driver, but obviously that hasn't stopped people from texting and driving. So that's why we've chosen to introduce something that is specific, and that's true with this too. Again, there are laws on it, but and cyberbullying we know is new. It's a new phenomenon, again, because technology is so rapidly changing and trying to keep up with it. It's something that even 5 years ago really wasn't out there, and now it is, and we've seen the consequences of it.
And specifically to answer your question about parents' responsibility, I think they definitely do have a responsibility. I don't know that we can legislate, but I think the legal system would account for that. I mean, if you approach a parent of a child who's bullying your child and they refuse to do anything, I think that there is recourse in the law. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know all the fine points, but I know if my child was being bullied and the school was not responsive and the parent was not responsive, I'd go see my lawyer and see if there was something I could do to put a halt to this.
So then it sounds like something has fallen through the cracks of the law enforcement system that exists, and yet there are no laws on the books. So the schools have to come to you to give them a law that they can enforce because police and prosecutors don't have a law they can enforce.
Well, that may be the case. This whole technology, this world of technology has grown so rapidly and so broadly that we're trying to catch up on all levels, and legislatively is one of them. So, it's a challenge. But I've seen kids who have been bullied, and I've seen kids, the results of it, and it's just, someone's got got to do something, and this is just one step that we thought we could take to give the schools the ability to develop policies that would hold people accountable. Now, obviously, they have to, they're depending on parents and children and witnesses to report the cyberbullying. We're not going to be putting a police force in the schools of cyber cops. I mean, that's not our intent. The schools are not the primary investigators in this. They have to be told that something is happening. But then we are asking them to develop a policy that will provide consequences for those children who are responsible for the bullying.
Are there?
Add to that is, actually, some of the schools in our districts already have started to develop, and I know one of your schools actually has shared, their policy in that respect. So, but again, this is to bring it to the forefront, so hopefully all schools will look at this, because I think it's unfortunately happening in most schools.
Does Ohio law permit someone to be prosecuted in the case of something that's happened in New Jersey where it can be proven that they were directly responsible for the death of someone? Can they be prosecuted under one of Ohio's existing laws?
She's the lawyer.
And I have to say, I'm not a criminal lawyer, never was, don't want to be. So you have to show a nexus, basically, and so you have to research Ohio law to see if in fact there was something. I'm sure there was a Law and Order episode probably on this, but I can't answer you specifically. But my guess is we would be able to find some, as long as again there was a nexus from the person in Ohio to the person in New Jersey.
Did you say 18 other states already have this or are considering this?
Have it.
What kind of record did the other states have in using this? Do you have any?
It's new legislation, so it's not been in place long enough to see consequences or